And I'll let Howard introduce our guest. I apologize to you, David. I didn't introduce you during our guests, so I apologize about that, but very anxious to hear your speech.
Thank you. And actually this comes, Mario, who has met with David before, is the recommendation for him. And as we know, our present theme this year is gratitude, so there's nothing better than having David George Brooke speak. He's called the Gratitude Guy. He's been a speaker, he's been a leader, he's a coach, he's a best-selling author for over 30 years. He's formerly with Nordstrom's, the store manager, and managed in the corporate world for over 35 years. He's published various books, some of which you'll see here on the side here. The Brooks Daily Gratitude Journal, Happiness Stars with Gratitude, Gratitude Nuggets to Chew On. He's been featured on the Midday on King TV. He's recently shared the stage with Bill Gates Sr. at a regional conference. With over 450 gratitude videos posted on YouTube, thousands have been seeing his message. He's now considered a leading authority on gratitude and now living a life of gratitude he can re-embrace. So I'm very happy that he's here to speak to us today. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Howard. And I guess I'll hold it. Good job, David.
Thank you.
By show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? That's about all but maybe one or two. I am fortunate enough to speak to high schools where I do commencement speeches where the average age is about 18, and I go into rest homes where the average age is probably 90 to 95. In the high schools, half the kids raise their hand, which just blows my mind for somebody being that young, and then you can imagine in the nursing homes it's 100%. I want to tell you very quickly about my significant personal loss in my life. It was September 29th, 1998. It was a Tuesday. I woke up about 6:30 and I looked to the side and my wife Dana wasn't there. That's strange. I wonder where Dana is. Just then Connor, my 4-year-old, comes running in. Where's Mommy? I don't know, Con. Let's go find her. So we walk out and we go down look down into a couple of the rooms in the hallway. Kyle, my 14-year-old, comes out. Same question, same answer. We don't know. So we go down to the end and we look downstairs and I can see Dana down in front of the washer and dryer, all crunched over. It doesn't look good. So we go running down the stairs and we turn her over and there's stuff coming out of her mouth and it does not look good at all. Connor starts crying. I said to Kyle, go call fire, go call police, go call anybody you can. And within a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, there must have been 25 people in their house. And they had her out on the floor and they had all those tubes and wires and that electronic shock deal. Most surrealistic thing I'd ever seen. I'd never been in any situation like this. And for any of those of you that raised your hand that have been through something like this, one of the things you notice is that time loses all measure. And I wasn't sure how much time had passed, but this little short fire person comes up to me and says, Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for 90 minutes. We still don't have a heartbeat. Do you want us to continue? And I remember thinking then, even when you're in shock, this brain up here still manages to compute a little bit and went 90 minutes, no heartbeat. And I said, no, you can stop. And she was dead. And she was 38 years old. And as I mentioned, Connor was 4 and Kyle was 14. What made it so difficult for me, I mentioned significant personal loss in your life. Well, this was at the top of my list, but there had been so many others. My father was a very prominent Seattle attorney. He committed suicide. My mom died of cancer. They were both when I was relatively young. The night I graduated from Queen Anne High School, which is now condos, 2 of my best buddies were killed in a car accident. It just went on and on and on and on. And at some point, I decided I'm going to need some sort of coping mechanism to deal with life, because life can be challenging. And everybody knows life is like this. When I talk to the high school kids, they don't know that yet, but we do. This is fun up here. This is not fun. This is where you want to be, but this is where the lessons are learned. And one of the things I learned along the way is I was going to have to find something. So a couple days after Dana passed away, I walked up to the deck. Gosh, my house was swarming with family and friends, bringing food. Everybody was doing everything they could. But I was there by myself, and I just remember pinching my skin. It feels like 5 minutes ago. When I'm just another little guy, human being is what we are, trying to get through life, and I don't know if I could make this. And we live by Green Lake up in Seattle. And I thought it wouldn't be that hard to go about 1.5 miles away to the Aurora Bridge and just step off. All my problems are done. So I sat there for about 5 minutes, kind of looked at the sky, and I thought, nope, I'm not going to do that. Connor is 4 and Kyle is 14, as I mentioned. They're going to need a dad. Their mom is already gone. And once you make a decision to take something off the table, it's no longer an option. So for all of the other stuff that's happened to me since then, it was never an option. I heard somebody, I can't remember if it was David, I think, talking about Joint Base Lewis McChord. I finally have gotten in there, and I'm now speaking to soldiers. 22 soldiers die of suicide a day, active and retired. 22 a day. If I can get through to 1, that's going to be 1 more than I got through yesterday. But one of the first things I figured out is you've got to look at something in the proper way. So I'd like you to all stand up if you would be so kind. Hopefully lunch is pretty much done. And I was looking when I got here, as I always do, to see if there's any clocks, and there are not. So I want you to extend your right hand and start turning in a clockwise manner. The high school kids are all messed up on this because they have no idea what clockwise is. You know, we're a digital and they're going like this and stuff. But just keep it going clockwise, and then just start slow. Keep it going clockwise. Start slowly bringing it down. Forehead, nose, mouth, chin, chest, and your waist. Now, what direction is it going?
Counter.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Howard. Oh, you can sit down. And there's. See, I want you guys' names already because they're my favorite. There's always a couple of what is, and people are still doing it. And look at Nathan. Nathan's still doing it. Are you? I could say the glass is half full, or I could say it's half empty. But that's my way of showing. If you look above and below, counterclockwise one way, clockwise the other. I have these fraternity brothers I went to the University of Washington with. I met with them about 6 months ago. We were having breakfast, and they go, you know, we've seen your little talk. Frankly, we're not that impressed. Oh, well, that's fine. But then one of them says, so how does this thing work? Oh, well, if you're so impressed, how come you don't know about that or not impressed? Why is it that... But it does depend on how you look at it. So when I figured out gratitude, which is obviously the core of my talk, one of the first things, there's 5 things I'm going to talk about today. The first one is embracing gratitude. So you've got a 3x5 card at your table. I want you to grab that card. If you have a pen, you're going to need to write some things on it. So if you don't have a pen, raise your hand. I've got some extra pens here. Hopefully you do. And you need to pick a partner. So Ashley, you're Ashley, right? You can hook up with Mary or whatever, but make sure you get a partner. Pen.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Not it? And for those of you that are already ready to roll, pens, other pens, so get your partner. Upper left-hand corner of the 3x5 car, upper left-hand corner, write, I see you as. 4 words. I see you as. And in the upper right-hand corner, write your partner's name. And whether you've ever met this person or not before, you know them well, it doesn't matter. And in the lower right-hand side of the card, sign your name. Lower right-hand corner, sign your name. Okay, has everybody got their partner? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and whether you know them or not, I want you to write how you describe your partner, any adjectives. David looks at Howard, goes, I see him as enthusiastic, happy, energy, whatever it is, 30 seconds, go. How you see your partner. As many as you can.
How many words is the description?
As many as you want. I love this table, by the way. You guys are my favorite already. Okay, about 5 seconds. Normally I do this longer, but I've got a short amount of time today. Stop. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you 1 minute. I want you to turn to each other and read what you wrote about the other person. About 15 seconds each. Go.
Oh, maybe not such a good thing.
So you've got your card, exchange card, so you have the card that the person wrote about you. Now look at what that person wrote about you. And I have a question when you read that. How many people are going to hang on to that card?
Me.
Almost everybody wants to hang on to it. That's the reason I do that exercise is I don't understand why we say things to ourselves we'd never say to a friend. I took words like H-A-T-E out of my vocabulary a long time ago, L-O-S-E-R, I used to do that on my forehead, and a bunch of other words. But when you embrace gratitude, that's an example of how every single day you're focusing on what you have versus what you don't have. And that's what a gratitude journal, which I'll get to in a minute, talks about, because you write in it for 5 minutes a day. But it's very, very powerful. And I heard somebody say, what's your name? Jen. Jen says, we should do about somebody we don't like. And it reminded me of, in high school I tried this, it didn't work. They go, I see you as an idiot. So clearly that's not the place I do that. It's like 30 and above. So embracing gratitude is the number one thing I talk about. Number two is it takes as long as it takes, you can't ever give up. Now I was looking at Ashley and I was looking at Nathan. I am 64 years old. They're going, dang, that guy's twice as old as we are. And I know he doesn't look a day over like 61 or 62. I know he was thinking that. But Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC till 62 or 63. I was running a Lowe's home improvement, a huge store a couple years ago, and I said, I'm done. I wanted to be a speaker when I was 19 years old. And I came home, and Connor, who was 17 at the time, goes, what are you doing home? It's 2 in the afternoon. I said, I quit. I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to be that gratitude guy. And Connor, who was a lot like me, goes, well, that's just super, Dad. And after I recovered from that, he goes, what are we going to do for money? It's okay, Con. He's now down in college. But Connor suffered mightily, and talking about you got to hang in there as long as you can't ever give up. He wanted to play baseball, he wanted to play sports, and he was very damaged by Dana's death. And we did a test where they were bouncing balls, and they came and told me after it was over, your son is really messed up. I said, his mom died 6 months ago. What do you expect? Yeah, but he's going to need all this kind of stuff. And it was really, really tough. And so he kept trying. He said, I want to play baseball. And when you got coach pitch and T-ball, he couldn't even hit the ball. Now he's a decent athlete, but it was like he's way up here. What are you doing up here? The ball is down here. So he finally lowers the bat. He hits the tee. The ball dribbles forward. He goes, I got to hit. And I went, Connor, no, that's not the concept. But he kept trying. He never played. He'd go out and he'd practice and he'd be in the dugouts and all that kind of stuff. And finally we get to May 31st, 2005. He's like 11. It's the bottom of the 7th inning. They're down 7-6. He hasn't played. And there's 2 guys on second and third. I think the coach is out of players. He goes, get Brooke out of the dugout. So here comes Connor out of the dugout and he's swinging the bat like he's Babe Ruth, And then he does something that's very odd. Hey, Dad, I'm up. And kids never talk to their parents. But not Connor. He's looking at me going, I'm up. Gets there, ball 1, ball 2, full count. Next pitch comes in, he just rips it down the third base line. Goes just inside the bag in the left field. The guy from third comes in, the guy from second rounds third comes to home. The ball, the guy, the catcher, they all come together, he catches it, they crash down, the ball pops out. They win 8-7. He's out on second base and he goes, Dad, I got a hit. And the entire dugout goes out and gets him and carries him off the field on their shoulders. I've never seen anything like it before or since. And we got home that night, and I sat down in the bed next to him and I said, Connor, it was about the fact you never gave up. It was never about baseball. And my older son Kyle, who's now 30, and the same with me and everybody I get to speak to, so often, if not all the time, you cannot give up. You just can't. And you've heard many things. The gold miner, he's just a few inches away from the vein of gold and they give up. And we had many, many people. And when you give up, it's still out there going, Mayor, I'm still out here. You need to address the situation. But if you stick with it, you can follow through. Third thing, make room for gratitude, clear out your brain. I drive by these houses in cul-de-sacs and they just got stuff from floor to ceiling, boxes, and there's like a little thing like this where the people walk in and they're like they walk in like that and they go, why do you have all that stuff? Well, it's the same thing with your brain. If you're going to get gratitude in here, you got to get rid of junk. You know, and I do workshops, and like the one I'm doing for Joint Base, and one of the things I talk about is people drive over stuff, they pick it up, put it in front of them, drive over it again. And one of the perfect example is people talking about their exes. Well, you don't understand, my ex is a decent age. And I go, well, okay, when did you get divorced? 1993. I don't understand it. And when you go back in those cars today, notice that your windshield's about 2 feet deep and about 4 feet wide. It's really big. And then notice the rearview mirror is about this size. And kind of keep that in mind. That's, I don't know, 200 to 1 or something like that. Mostly look forward, pay a little attention. If you see some flashing blue lights, you know, you got to pull over. But mostly pay attention to what's in front of you. One of my books is called Happiness Starts with Gratitude. I'm really curious if you can truly be happy if you're not grateful. Maybe. John Lennon was 5 years old. A lot of people don't know this. His mom calls him into his room and says, I want to tell you the most important thing I'm ever going to tell you in my entire life. John Lennon says, what's that? And she goes, your number one goal in life is to be happy. So John Lennon didn't forget that. And about 5 or 6 years later, he's in class. And they're going around, Dave, Howard, Mary, and they're asking the people, what do you want to be when you grow up? So they get to John Lennon and he goes, I want to be happy. Teacher looks at him and goes, you don't understand the assignment. Typical John Lennon. And, or answer I should say. John Lennon looks back at the teacher and goes, you don't understand life. He got it early. But it's really about how are you going to create happiness. I get to talk to a lot of people, big groups, small groups, and I always talk about that person you see in the mirror. That's the most important relationship you're ever going to have. It's just amazing to me. When you get connected to that person, your whole life seems to work a little better. Well, gratitude is a key way to do that. A buddy of mine says to me, you are messed up. 5 years later after Dana died, I'm still struggling. We lost our house, we lost our money, we lost everything. She was addicted to prescription medication. Vicodin, Oxycontin, 38 as I mentioned. So I order a gratitude journal. I'd never heard of it before. And I just sat on it. I just didn't even try it. But then I started to try it one day and I started to notice what happened. I started to notice how so many things in my life were framing on everything I had versus what I didn't have. So I make one myself. I sell these. I used to give them away, but I notice people don't write them as much when I just give them to them. They're $15. You write about what you're grateful for. It takes 5 minutes. Depends a lot on how fast you write. But I want to do just a quick experiment. One of the things in there is the daily number. 10 is the best day of your life, and 1 is one of the worst days of your life. So I want you all to think about this very moment, what number you are right now. You could be halves, but just what number you are right now. And I'm going to have you raise your hands. Now, if you're a 1 to a 5, I don't want you to raise your hands. I don't want to embarrass anybody who's having a tough day. But just by show of hands, how many people are a 6? Okay, 1 or 2. 7. A few more. 8s. Okay, a few more. 9s. 3, 4, and 10s. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So here's what I want you to do. And I don't have as much time again today, so I'm going to rush you through this. But I want you to just stop for a second and think, what is the number one thing you're grateful for? Now, who did I see? It was, where was she? It was saying, I think he's going to have us write down what we're grateful for, because I heard earlier. So I want you to think about, if you only pick one thing, and I do not tell people, I don't help them with this, I know what it is for me, but I want you to think about it. So you got that planted in your brain. Now what's the second thing you're most grateful for? If you could pick just 2 things. Okay, and just plant those in there. And lastly, this is about 12:30 or 1 o'clock. So let's say yesterday. What was the highlight of your day yesterday? What was the best thing that happened to you yesterday? Of course, occasionally somebody goes, can I give my low light? No. God. This is the highlight. It's not the low. So you got the most grateful, second most grateful, and highlight. Okay, and just think about those. This is just no partner. This is just you, yourself, and I. And I want to see if the numbers change at all. So I know they sure do for me. So once again, we'll forget 6s. Now, after considering that, how many people are 7? Okay, 8s. A few more. 9s. Wow, see quite a few more. And 10s. Wow, a bunch more. Thank you. My talk is over. I do that written, and there's nothing like writing it. The little saying, and thank you for that, because that's how quickly your mindset can change. You know, I noticed the other day with people or friends of mine, when they start a sentence with, you don't understand, I go, oh boy. You know what's coming next is an excuse. But right on the cover here it says, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. There's something about, I am so grateful for Howard Skulls for inviting me. I'm so grateful I got a chance to meet Mary. I got to meet Clyde. I already know Marnie. Nathan didn't say hi to me, but he seems like a super nice guy. I was sitting next to him.
Did he give you a brochure and say vote?
No, he didn't. I don't know what it is. You're my favorite so far. Although this table, I really love this table, though. But if there's something about it, starts with a thought up in this brain, it goes to the heart, the arm, the hand, the pen. I am so grateful that I got to meet Howard because I had to put a face with an email, etc. There's something about it. You can go back to refer to it and so forth. So very, very powerful. So a couple last quick things I want to do. I don't think I'm going to have time to give away a book, so maybe we can do do you do the red tickets? Do we have time for?
Yeah, we do. We'll have a wrap-up.
I'll do one for that too. And I do a gratitude video every single Monday for 2 minutes. And if you're interested in the gratitude video, you can stop over and I've got a sign-up sheet. So embrace gratitude. It takes as long as it takes. Don't ever give up. Make room for gratitude. Clear out your brain. And I think I was telling Marnie, it might have been Clyde, get a gratitude journal. I think I'm going to add one too, which is find your purpose and your passion. Because when you find your purpose, I do a lot of stuff when I worked for Nordstrom. There was always, Nordstrom was a very good company to work for. They're always trying to figure out what made people tick. So back then there was the top 10 reasons why what the employees wanted from an employer. Help with personal problems was number 3, being in on the know was number 2, and appreciation and recognition was number 1. Well, appreciation and recognition is still important, but they redid the survey here about a year ago. Number 3 now is responsibility. Number 2 is goals. And the runaway number 1 thing an employee wants from an employer is purpose. Knowing that their work makes a difference. Well, if you start focusing on what you have in your life versus what you don't have, getting connected with that person in the mirror, being grateful, which will then lead to being happy, it's a pretty good formula. So, last thing, sharing gratitude. Sometimes I used to mention network marketing people because they're so excited about everything that they have, and I go, well, I thought we were having coffee, and then all these vitamin pills come out. But I can't blame them because they're sharing something. They're excited about it, and how can you blame a person for that? So I want to do another little experiment. So how many people here, by show of hands, have been on their smartphone since I've been talking? 1, 2. So we have 2 honest people in the room. So everybody take out your smartphones. So we're going to do just a little quick sharing gratitude thing here. And if you don't have a smartphone, you can do this. You can just write a note on the back of that card. Or if you want another card, I'll give it to you. Because this is going to be expressing gratitude. Here's what we're going to do. This is called the 4 T's. T is in the letter T. You're going to text, tweet, telephone, or tell somebody, if you don't have a phone, how grateful you are to have them in your life. Go, and I'll give you a minute. I know you're texting, so 105. I just want to make sure, like 105. Okay, I'll be about 5 more minutes.
Are you wrong?
Who stole your phone?
Wow, I just got 50 messages.
About 20 seconds left. So I don't want to comment about the age in the room because yes, please, because I'm right up there. But the average number of texts in a room this size is about 1, maybe 1.5. In high school, they've already sent 7 texts. I've never seen people go so fast. Okay, about 5 seconds, and if you run out of time, you can send it later. And for those of you that did a note. So I started doing this because I thought it was really fun to get people into the habit of explaining how grateful they are to have people in their life. And I was doing a talk at a high school that had this performing arts center, and I could see a gal, right, we're a little farther than where Howard was. I could hear her, and most people use these as texts. Occasionally somebody calls. So she's calling, and she's going, I can hear her from where I'm standing on the stage, and she goes, I just really love you. I'm assuming it's her husband. I I just really love you, and I'm just really grateful to have you in my life, and I'm just so, I don't know, some speaker just told me to call you and tell you. Wait, no, that's not what you want to do. And then I could actually hear a few people already, because people always come. I love to meet people afterwards, whether they buy a book or not, because you get to hear these stories. And people will show me their phone, and they'll go, look at this. And they show me the phone, and it goes, I'm grateful for you too. What do you want? And then the other one, another one that was more recent was, are you sure you sent this to the right person?
Who stole your phone?
So I tell people, it's something that we have to, if you remember, it makes such a big difference, but there's something about the sharing gratitude. Find your purpose, find your passion. As I said, I'm 64 years old. I'm going to do this to 94. I have these same fraternity brothers. Half of them are retired. I'm worried about some are going to be dead before long because they don't have much to do. I don't know how much golf you can play. It's up, everybody has their own free choice. But if you get out there to be able to make a difference and find a purpose and create a passion, but there's always something about sharing it. It was these same fraternity brothers that were also gung-ho about 30 years ago skydiving that said, well, Dave, why don't you make the reservation? So, I go out and I make the reservation in Issaquah and everything, and then it's for Saturday, and then on Monday a couple of them called and canceled. And then on Tuesday I picked up the phone and, Dave, I got a sore throat, don't think I can make it on Saturday. And I went, great. And so finally Saturday comes at 10 o'clock, and I go up to Issaquah skydiving, and I walk proudly up to the counter. Hi. He goes, can I help you? I said, yeah, Brooke, party of 10 skydiving. He looks around, he goes, where are all your friends? I went, I don't have any. Nobody showed up. So I went by myself, and I have a really cool picture of me gritting my teeth. I'm all scared. It was just a static line jump. But I had nobody to share that with. So keep that in mind, and when you text people and you say you're grateful, I will tell you this. When Dana passed away and all these other people died, I did go to a support group, and that helped a lot. But I feel I get to do this 2 or 3 times a week. And I never use PowerPoint because I like to look at people. And I like to look at eyes, and I like to watch nodding heads. Great eyes, by the way, to Mary, but she's going, she goes, this guy's too smooth. I meant it. Actually meant it. But the thing is that I feel embracing gratitude, you can write it down, you can say it, whatever you want. I feel writing it down is really powerful. I do sell these journals and so forth, but it makes such a big difference. I feel it can change and transform your life, and I feel in my case, I don't think I'd be here today. I think it saved my life. It can save yours too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Hey, this is what we do is a sign of gratitude. We do books, we donate them to Raymond Hall.
Oh, fantastic.
So if you would actually just sign here, it's going to be sent in your honor.
Oh, great.
You take a Casa bookmark as a memento. There's a pen. So I know when I do my gratitude journals, they start off with really lofty stuff. And I love it when I get to about the 3rd or 4th day, because it's like I'm grateful for, cereal being on the shelf.
Exactly.
Or whatever. But you know what? Good stuff. Because not everybody has that. So thank you
for that.
Okay, so we have a drawing, and I forgot my notes. Next week is Veterans Day. One more thing to be grateful for. Larry Sequest, unrelated to the election, Larry is a veteran.